Oh my God! I'm in a fucking thing! I'm gonna die!
Dance with the devil in the pouring rain. Sharks in the water, but it's all the same. I'll be holding on. I'll be holding on with you.
What's up? It's Demolition Man back again with another video. And today I want to talk about riding safe for adrenaline junkies. I think I'm an expert in this field because I'm an adrenaline junkie myself. For a lot of people, and especially rookies, we get on a bike and we feel some type of way. And a lot of times the torque of the bike, the speed of the bike, the agility of a bike, you know, tends to get us pretty excited. And a lot of us tend to go outside the boundary of our skill set. So I mean, that's never gonna stop. There's always gonna be people that's gonna push themselves to the limit. So I thought I'd come out with a video and maybe point out some safety tips that people could take in consideration while riding out there like a freaking maniac. But this video is in no way condoning, you know, crazy or unsafe riding, but more of a video to enlighten people in the options they have when it comes to unsafe riding. So the first thing I want to talk about is, like, I'm riding on the highway right now. You know, I just got off work and it's about 4:30-ish, and right now there's pretty intense traffic all around. Doesn't seem too intense right here, but I think that's the danger of traffic. You really never know when that time is gonna come. So I like to ride on the side of people, like kind of on the close to the line as possible. And I do that because for whatever reason the traffic in front of you is stopping, whether there's a car accident, a squirrel jumping in the middle of the damn highway, or traffic has just come to an abrupt stop because of rush hour. I ride on the side next to the line just in case I have to use the line as a safe space to get away from crashing in the back of some truck or some car. Which brings me to my next enlightenment. You should always keep in mind that while you're riding on the road is not a motorcycle's domain. Now sure, motorcycles may dominate the road when it comes to performance, but as far as safety goes, car drivers ain't driving around thinking about motorcyclists. So that's always like one of the main things people say whenever they pull out in front of a motorcyclist. I didn't see them coming, because they're, you know, let's face it, they're not really looking for a motorcyclist. So you always want to keep in mind of the spots that you can use to your advantage. Call it safe spaces. Like this line right here. I ride on the middle of this line right here. You see right in front of me, there's no cars on this white line because all the cars are designated between the lines. So that's their domain. For a bike, you see the side median over here beyond the yellow line, and you see the side median over here beyond this line, and these white lines that are all split up. It's a safe space as a last resort to ride into if they ever get into a situation that they need that safe space. I'll give you an example. One day I was riding my bike and I decided to crack my back, so I kind of turned my body around and held onto the tail fairing and cracked my back. Little did I know, the green light that I saw in front of me before I did it turned red while I was turning around, and when it turned red, some cars in front of me obviously stopped in front of the red light. So by the time I got my hands on the wheel, I mean, there had to be like 10 feet from me and the car that's come to a complete stop. And what I did was, right before, instead of just slamming on my brakes and doing a front flip into the back windshield, I rode into the line, just like that. I juked over to the right, rode into the line, passed right by those cars. Now, it's a hell of a lot better than being smashed up against somebody's car. Another thing that I want to talk about is, you know, being on the highway like this, we tend to go faster. As motorcycle riders, we tend to go faster than the cars that are around us. Sometimes cars, they switch lanes, not even looking, no signal light. I mean, we all ran into those people, right? And sometimes they switch in front of us, and for some people, they don't know what to do. They kind of freeze up, or they veer off to the side of the road and end up in the embankment somewhere. But an easy way to fix all that is if somebody's switching over on you, you just speed up. Don't freeze up. Freezing up is the last thing you want to do when you're on a motorcycle. Because your whole body, it's not like a car where your feet and your hands and your eyes are involved in the driving, but on a motorcycle your whole body is involved in riding a motorcycle. So you never want to freeze up because you need every bit of your body to control your motorcycle. Don't go off to the side of the road. The best thing to do is either get on that white line and haul ass, but whatever you do, don't freeze up. Just always try to use your signal lights. It lets the person in front of you mostly know if you're going to be switching lanes or not. A lot of times when we speeding, cars will see us coming real fast behind them, and they'll have this assumption that we're about to crash into the back of them. So what they'll do is they'll switch lanes on you at the last minute. So it'll turn out ugly if you're over here trying to switch this lane and that person switches that lane too. You might end up in the back of their windshield. So using your signal lights is always a good thing to do. Going beyond your limit. There's a lot of motorcycle riders, man, really, I mean, what is that limit? You gotta push yourself to the limit in anything to get better at it. So, I mean, I'm not one of those people that say, you know, riders, they shouldn't go beyond their limit, but I am one of those people that will tell you straight up, if you go beyond your limit, don't be surprised if you end up with some broken bones. But I remember first riding, I pushed myself a lot, and I've been into a lot of accidents. 99% of them are basically, you know, lay downs. I think one accident I've ever had, I'm sorry, 2 accidents I had involved another vehicle, and I've been down over 10 times. So all them other times was basically going down on turns, really. I'm a turn freak. Love corners. Don't see that much in this city, but I know some spots I go to and I really let loose. Not a lot of cars out there. It's perfect. You know, for riders that try to push their limits, I can somewhat encourage that, because if you never push your limits, well, you can never raise the bar on your limit. And you know there's gonna be them people out there like, city roads is no place to be riding like you on the track. Well, you know, for some of us, we don't have a track, and I'm not gonna drive 2 hours a day to go fucking visit a track just to get my adrenaline fit so I could please you pony riders. This right here is my stallion. But when I was first riding, I was pushing my limits all the time, and I've been in a lot of accidents pushing my limits, and I learned from every single one of them accidents. I've gotten a few broken bones from my accidents. I've gotten a lot of scars from my accidents. But I can tell you one thing, my limit is nowhere near where it was set at when I first started riding. And that's all because I push my limits, I see where that limit is, and then I correct myself in order to raise that limit. Which is another good reason why I think I'm qualified to make a video like this on safety tips for adrenaline junkies. You know, when you leaning off your bike, and I came up with a video a few weeks back about leaning off your bike. You should always, and I'll repeat, always lean off your bike when you're making turns fast. And the reason that is because not every turn is gonna be easy to execute without leaning off your bike. And a lot of times, if you go into a turn a little too fast, and like I said in previous videos, that these sport bikes, we tend to get out of control with them because these sport bikes are fucking fast. So you get kind of antsy. You always feel like you want to haul ass in this bike. And because of how high up you are versus a car seat, 70 miles an hour feels like 40. There's guys I see riding bikes that'll be leaning off their bike, you know, going around a 30, just going 40. Leaning off your bike probably isn't necessary going those speeds around a turn like that, but it's good practice, because the day will come when you do hit a turn a little too fast, not realizing that the turn's a little more sharper. That lean angle you get from leaning off your bike is really gonna help you out. So always practice leaning off your bike. Perfect your body positioning when you're leaning off your bike, because there is a way. You can't just lean off your bike any kind of way. There's a certain way you lean off your bike in order to safely execute a fast corner. I'm in Florida, and Florida's really a wetland, so we don't have a whole lot of turns like those mountainy places, but there are a few out here. And one thing that I do, you know, when I'm about to go hit some twisties, is I'll ride through it going the speed limit. And well, maybe a little more than speed limit, but you know what I mean. I'll ride through it to make sure that there's no debris, roadkill, a board with nails just lying in the middle of the street. That has happened to me before. You just never know what's in the road. You know, things fall off of people's car all the time into the road, so you just don't want to be hitting a turn and running into a damn box full of freaking dishes. You get what I'm saying? But also, you want to get a good memory, especially if you've never been there before. You want to get a good memory of where all the tough turns are at, because you don't want to go into a turn thinking that every turn's the same, and you go into a turn and it's a freaking U, and you end up falling off the damn road. So when you're out there testing your limits, there's always a good place to test your limits at. You don't want to test your limits anywhere. You know, I was not too long ago, I'd say probably like 4 years ago, I went out to the mountains up in North Georgia, and I mean, man, they got turns every 5 feet. You know what I mean? Like, there's a turn everywhere. There is no straight road out there. I mean, when I went out there, I was already riding for like 4+ years, and you know, I remember there was one turn I went in, and I made the mistake of not riding through those twisties before I went down it, and I was going around a turn, and it turned out to be a lot sharper than expected, and I almost went off the edge. I probably was like 100 feet up from the bottom, but I was able to control it enough to where I executed the turn and nothing happened. I didn't fall not one time while I was out there, because by that time I was really good at taking turns really fast. You know, one thing about cornering around blind turns, one thing you never want to, I know a lot of times we driving around slow people and we get the urge to go around them, but you never ever want to go around a turn trying to pass a car and you don't know what's coming around that turn. I think I was who was it? I believe it was Yami Noob. He's a pretty popular moto vlogger. I think he got into an accident not too long ago. He ran into a Porsche or something like that. I think the way it happened was he was going around a turn too fast, and he went over the double yellow line, crashed head on into a Porsche that was coming around the corner. From the looks of it, you can't see what's coming around that turn, and that's a pretty good example right there. You know, you don't want to go around a turn. You can't see what's on the other side. You do not want to go on the other lane to pass a car just to get around. You can wait until you're around that turn and you can see what's in front of you and then pass around the car. So you always want to keep that in mind. And for all you non-helmet riders out there riding like maniacs, I just got to sum it up with one word: stupid. Why the hell you ride a motorcycle, period, without no helmet? Especially a sports bike. And you know, when I first started riding, my first accident involved another vehicle. Another vehicle pulled right into my lane. I was on the highway, but we were in the middle of a pretty sharp turn for, you know, 70 miles an hour, and a car came into my lane right next to me. And I tried to move away from the car to the side like this, and we were turning at the same time, and I kind of froze up because the angle kind of caught me on surprise. I didn't know what to do. I think I was riding for like not even 6 months, and I wasn't wearing a helmet at the time. You know, I had a helmet, but I didn't wear it most of the time because I guess at the time I thought I was young. I thought I was too cool for a helmet. But that left me with a broken bone, 2 permanent scars on my face that are still there today. I got one on my eye. I guess that one looks pretty cool. Then I got one on my nose, which doesn't look pretty cool. And now I've been riding for so long, you know, helmets just, they seem cool to me now. I got a pretty cool helmet. I got a AGV Evo AX8, I believe it's called. It makes me feel like a stormtrooper. I feel like Darth Vader. Luke, come to the dark side. But wear helmets, y'all. And I remember a story about a guy. He rides motorcycles everywhere he goes, and one day he wanted to go up to the store real quick and get a pack of cigs, and he felt like he didn't need his helmet because he was just going around the corner. And you got to realize, man, most of these accidents happen in residential streets. You know, you really, it's rare to see accidents happen on the highway. Most of these accidents happen on residential streets because there's so many cars coming in and out, turning everywhere. You're just bound for a car to pull out in front of you. And a car ended up pulling out in front of him. He ended up laying the bike down, and he ran right into a curve and smashed his head open. They had to take his brain out and fix whatever was broken inside it, and then put his brain back in. And It was some crazy shit. Always wear your helmet. You never know when that fateful day comes and you need that helmet. I remember a time I didn't even leave my neighborhood. I was coming down my neighborhood, and there's this one part to the entrance where it's a straightaway. So I was going pretty fast. I'd say I was going about 50. And I'm coming down the road at 50. It's early in the morning. I'm on the way to work. And this U-Haul truck, one of them 34-foot U-Haul trucks, pull out right in front of me. And he was supposed to yield for me to go, but he didn't. And so the first thing that I did was I laid the bike down. I do not want to hit head first into a damn truck. So I laid the bike down to see if, you know, to attempt for the bike to hit the truck and not me. I ended up sliding underneath the damn truck, and my body and my bike didn't even hit the truck. Well, I'm sorry, my bike did. The tail hit the truck's back tire, and it smashed. But I slid right up underneath the truck. But the top of my head slammed right on the bottom of the truck. Looking at my helmet after that whole accident happened, I can tell you what, there was a good chance my skull would have been busted open. I mean, you know, with the helmet on, it felt like Chuck Liddell gave me a right. And those are one of the times that I'm glad I had my helmet on. Ever since my first accident, I don't ever get on my bike without my helmet. I always have my helmet. I just go buy a really cool looking helmet so I can be encouraged to wear my helmet all the time. It is too hot to be waiting for this damn light. There's a cop next to me, so I'm not gonna even try it. High beams, use them. I do ride with my high beams at nighttime. I try to turn them off whenever I'm riding like directly right behind somebody. But if you're not even riding behind somebody, I encourage you to ride with your high beams on. But a lot of times, even if I'm riding behind somebody, it's just one headlight, they'll get over it. But I do that to make myself visible to motor vehicles, because I mean, let's face it, motor vehicles aren't really looking for motorcyclists with all those stickers out there, look twice, save a life. I don't really consider those stickers to be aiming towards, you know, motor vehicles. I kind of look at that as kind of a reminder for myself to look twice, because riding a motorcycle, it comes with responsibilities, and one of those responsibilities is you got to watch out for your ass. Everybody that got that one comment, you know, watch out for those crazy drivers. So you know there's people out here that just don't look for motorcycles. Always keep in mind there's a potential accident around every turn, on every straightaway. I remember right here, as a matter of fact, it was right here, not right past this light on this road right here, you know, a little bit down where that CVS is right there. I was coming this way, you know, there was a truck going that way, and he was at the turning lane. Let me catch this light. I was coming down the street just like this guy is right here, and I was probably going about 60. I mean, you know, this bike could catch speed real fast. It was actually on this bike right here. As soon as I was coming down, you know, I like to watch car language. You know, I look at car language. I look at their tires especially, because if they're easing out of a stopping position, I keep my hands on that brake. For those of you guys never been in a situation like that, you need to get memory braking down packed, because there's a lot of people out there who slams on their brake not knowing the braking power of their motorcycle and end up doing a front flip. I had my hands on the brake. The guy pulled out right in front of me. It was a big old Dodge Ram. And as soon as he pulled out in front of me, I hit my brakes. But I didn't hit it so much to attempt to stop, because that's not what I'm trying to do. And you know, I've gotten to the point where I've been in so many situations like that, I don't freeze up. It's important not to freeze up, because like I said earlier, you need your whole body to control your bike. But I slowed down because I want to see which way he's going. Either he's gonna stop and let me go, or he's gonna keep going. And the reason I do that is because you want to know whether you have to juke left or you have to juke right. Alright? Because if they're gonna keep going, you want to juke left. If they're gonna stop, you want to juke right. I had my brakes pressed down to give me enough time to react to what he was gonna do. So he kept going. As soon as he kept going, I juked right. Juked that thing so hard my front wheel came up. I actually turned around and confronted the guy who did it. This couple pulled up that was in the turning lane right next to where the whole thing happened, and they were like, "Oh, we just want to let you know, man, what you did back there was sweet as hell, man. The way you dodged that car." And I told him straight up, "Oh, there goes a nice turn right here." What, 130? Ain't nothing. Ain't nothing. Anyways, I told him, I said, if I was a rookie, I would have T-boned that truck. But I've been in the situation so many times I knew exactly what I had to do. Come on, buddy. Dude, you're gonna come on over, man. Damn, I thought they were done with this damn construction. I'll let y'all on a little secret. If I wasn't recording right now, I'd probably go on the lane right here where these cones are, because I've done it plenty of times. I did it one time when this Hayabusa tried the shit out of me. Little did he know I was riding on the Busa killer. But I remember taking this thing all the way up. I mean, there's really nothing up there. They got this thing blocked off for nothing. But yeah, like I said, it's important not to freeze up. In a lot of YouTube videos I see, people freeze up. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to react. And you gotta get rid of that. You can't freeze up. And what happens is your mind has already made up its mind that it's gonna hit whatever it is that you think that you're gonna hit. So what it does is it braces for impact and your body reacts to it. You gotta kind of slow things down, because look, if you're gonna hit something, you're gonna hit it. You get what I'm saying? There's no reason to freeze up, because when you freeze up, you lose an opportunity to save your ass. Worst situations you can be in when you're freezing up is a tank slapper. I had to wait for that cop to get the hell out of my way. So your front tire is going slower than your back tire, and you do one of these numbers right here. Oh my God, I'm in a fucking thing, I'm gonna die. I'm just kidding. You get into one of those numbers, and it's a hell of a lot more aggressive than that. I'll tell you that right now. You don't want to get into a tank slapper. But a good way to prevent a tank slapper, right, is to speed up. You hit that throttle. Don't be scared. Hit that throttle. When you hit the throttle, your bike automatically tries to straighten itself out. And that's what you got to do. When you're in a tank slapper, hit that throttle and it'll straighten itself out. That is, if it ain't too late. If you wait too long, then you're in a shitty position. All right, back from getting some gas. I'm all gassed up. There you go. Nice way to warm up your tires too in the morning. You know, in the morning, man, them tires get pretty cold. When you're riding on the street, you always want to keep a good eye on not only the car that's in front of you, but the car that's in front of that car also. And the reason is because, I mean, if you're only watching the car in front of you, you're really not going to know what's going on ahead of traffic. It gives you good enough time to react to it. Especially if you're going fast, you kind of want to also keep an eye on the cars that are in front of the car that you're about to come up to, because you want to see where those openings are that you could take when you're weaving in and out of traffic. Don't just concentrate on the car that you're about to pass, but also concentrate on the car that you're going to pass after you pass that car. Plan your route when you're weaving in and out of traffic. You want to see what's going on 5, 6, 7 cars up ahead of you. So you want to know if a car is switching lanes ahead of time before you coming up to the car, before you coming up on it, lest that car pull out right in front of you. And the cycle cruiser would say, you have a fucked up day. And these uneven grounds out here, you always want to look out for uneven grounds when you're turning. Don't turn on uneven grounds. If you're going downhill and you see a turn that's going downhill, you don't want to turn hard on you don't want to turn hard on hills that are uneven, because what happens is when you turn and you lean over too much on an uneven ground, your tire can lose traction and the bike will come from up under you. I remember one time a while back, I was going down a hill in a neighborhood, and there was a pretty sweet turn at the bottom of the hill, so I decided to go in wide. So I went over to the left and I dove into the turn, but I lost traction because the ground was uneven. Because if the road is going down and you're turning right and your bike is practically sideways trying to dive into a turn, that doesn't leave a lot of room for your bike tire to be contacting. You always want to look out for riding conditions. Always keep that in mind. I remember one time I was at a friend's house just hanging out, and this guy, he didn't really have a driveway. I mean, he had like a half a driveway and the rest of it was grass. So it was late at night. At the time, I just got a brand new 750. I was riding in my Dionysus suit, and I just bought like a $1,500 suit. I love that suit. I think it makes me feel like Rosie Valentino. So I was leaving my friend's house, my bike tire got all wet, and he told me to do a wheelie before I left, so I was like, alright, I'll do a wheelie. And as soon as I tried to pop that wheelie, my back tire just started spinning. put me in a tank slapper, and I didn't want to go into incoming traffic, so I went ahead and laid the bike down. And my friend came up to me and he was like, the first thing he said was, riding conditions, Poppy, riding conditions. I love this turn right here. Blinded by the sun. But it wasn't the friend that told me to do a wheelie. Shit, if he would have came up to me and told me that, I'd have popped him in the mouth. But that's something to think about. Riding conditions. You always want to watch your riding condition. And that's why I said, when you're coming on the twisties, especially turns you don't know, you want to make sure that there's no debris in the road, no oil slicks in the road, no objects in the road. You want to make sure that it's dry. You always want to concentrate on your riding conditions. You know, it's important to know the power of your brakes. You know, obviously the brake system on a 600 is much lesser than the power that's on a 1000. I've seen a lot of riders, they never really been in a situation where they really had to yank on their brake. So they end up squeezing their brake when they come into a situation where they got to come to a stop, and then they're flipping over the damn handlebars. Braking around turns is also a bad idea. And the reason is because if you're ever coming into a turn like this, and you're holding your front brake down, coming around that turn, and let's just say there's a little gravel right there. Well, when your front tire makes contact with that gravel and you're hitting your brakes at the same time, obviously your front tire is going to lose a little traction. When your front bike tire loses a little bit of traction, well, guess where you're going to go? On the ground. That front tire is going to slip from right up underneath you. So you never want to brake while you're in a turn. Do all your braking before you get into that turn. When you brake while you turn it does have a tendency to fight your bike when you're taking a turn. So, you know, for instance, if you're leaning down, when you hit your brake, you see that, it just comes right back up. It just comes right back up. So always keep that in mind. Do all your braking before you get into them turns, especially if you're going into a turn fast, because even if there's no gravel and you're not pressing your brakes hard enough, and you're not pressing your brakes that hard, you still got to keep in mind that the harder, the more you're pressing on your brakes, the more likely that your bike's going to come from underneath you. And you know, speaking of front brakes, I only use my front brakes. I haven't used my back brakes in a long time. In some years now, I haven't used my back brakes. And the reason is because, I mean, to me, they really don't do me any justice when it comes time to hit your brake. If you ever come to a situation where a car is pulling out in front of you and you go to hit both your brakes, what's going to happen is your bike is going to lock up and you're going to start sliding. And then what more than likely will happen is your bike will start shifting itself sideways, and when that happens, you're going to fly off your bike. They call that a high side. On a bike, you notice how you got like a little CD disc rotor in the back and you got two frisbee sized rotors in the front. 90% of your braking power is in the front. So I mean, for me, you know, I just don't use my back brakes. I always use my front brakes. The only time that I feel like that I need to use my back brakes is if I'm drifting around a corner or something like that. But other than that, I just don't use them. You know, I'm a front brake kind of guy. I've always used my front brake. You know, car language is like body language. I was discussing earlier in the video about a guy that turned in front of me, and I knew he was going to pull out in front of me because of the fact that he was easing on forward. And it wasn't like a very slow ease with your foot on the brake. It was more like his foot wasn't even on the brake, easing forward. Those type of things you got to look for. You know, if somebody was to pull out right in front of me right here, like up to this stop sign, oh, well, that's not even a neighborhood. My bad. Well, it's a house. But if somebody was about to come up to the stop sign right up ahead of me, a smart thing to do is to keep watching that car. Now, you don't want to take your eyes off the road, but you know what I mean. Keep watching that car. Keep your mind on that car. If you start to see that car easing forward, you want to keep that hand on your brake. If it's not going to stop, you want to slow down because you don't know what's about to happen. I've had plenty of cars in my years of riding pull out right in front of me, texting on their phone, talking to somebody, just not paying attention, just not looking, in a hurry, you name it. Pull out right in front of me. Half the time they keep going. Half the time they realize what they're doing and they stop. So that's why you want to hit your brake, not to the point where you want to stop. Don't try to stop, especially if you're going fast. And And what I mean by fast is if you're going over 40 miles an hour and a car pulls out in front of you, your objective is not to stop, because I'm telling you right now, you are not going to stop in time to avoid hitting that car. Either two things are going to happen. Either that car is going to stop in its track and you're going to pass right by it sliding and you still might bust your ass, or that car is not going to stop, and from you trying to stop, you're going to be sliding and you're going to slide right into that car or get thrown off your bike right up into that car. So don't try to stop. Instead, what you want to do is you want to hit your brake hard enough to where you're slowing down as fast as you can. And in that instance, you want to keep your eye on that car and discern as best as possible if that car is going to keep going or is it going to stop. And I mentioned this earlier in my video. If it keeps going, like it's coming from this side, if it keeps going, you want to juke right. If it stops, like let's say it stops right in the middle of the road, you want to juke left. You get what I'm saying? So, and that's why it's important not to freeze up. You don't want to freeze up when you're on your bike, because juking like that, you need your body for that. That takes your whole body to do that. But in order to like juke fast, you need to put your body into it. Which is why leaning off your bike while you take your turns allows you to make sharper turns than versus counter steering. Counter steering, you really limit to how tight you can make turns. When you're leaning off your bike, the weight distribution going into the turn that you're turning, it allows you to make a tighter turn than if you were to counter steer and counter your weight. Your wheelies. Now, I'm not a wheelie kind of guy. I do wheelies every now and then. This bike right here has wheelie control on it, and I actually just found out how to turn off the wheelie control. I mean, my other bikes, I never had wheelie control, so whenever I felt like it, I can pop that thing up. But this one, I actually have to turn the wheelie control off before I start riding, and I really don't think about that when I'm turning my bike on, because it's not like I wake up in the morning like, I wonder how many wheelies I can hit today. So whenever I do feel like hitting a wheelie, I can't, because the wheelie control is on, and you got to do it when your bike stops. This is a nice empty road. I like this. I guess this is how a cruiser feels. Alright guys, that's my video. For all you adrenaline junkies out there, man, have fun out there. Pop a couple wheelies for me. But remember, be mindful when you out there. Try to be as safe as possible. It's like the old saying goes, pick and choose your battles. So I would say to you, pick and choose your stunts. There's a right place and a wrong place for everything. There's a right time to have fun and get crazy, and there's a wrong time to let loose and get crazy. So if you like my video, subscribe to my channel. I'm coming out with more videos, different topics. Until next time, y'all.
You dream of once in a lullaby.